Hello, true believers. This is Doc Hogg, and welcome to episode 69 of Comics and Variety. If you like this channel, please do subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified when I post new videos, and for the sake of YouTube's search algorithm, please do hit the like button. Before I get to the web of Black Widow, I want to mention another indie comic that I'm backing, simply called Russell. It's about a cat named Russell. Sounds kind of like one of those heartwarming after-school specials that used to run on ABC. And if that's what you're after, don't back this comic. Russell is a gun-toting, hard-drinking, hooker-loving feline. And that's why you should buy this comic book. And if you need more than that, well, I'll talk more about why I'm backing it after my review of the Black Widow. But do you really need more? Anyway, Indiegogo link in the description below. All right, on to the web of Black Widow #1. Yeah, I know. We'll talk about that in a bit. First off, the premise underlying this comic is that Black Widow was killed and then brought back to life in the form of a clone. She still has all of Natasha Romanoff's memories. The plot is a bit vague at this point. The inside cover says the past is coming back to Black Widow and it's out for vengeance. Yet, the way the story plays out, she's the one out for vengeance. And it seems like she's after everyone who was involved in some way with the Red Room, the notorious place where she was turned into a master assassin. In this comic, she is out to expose a Russian tech billionaire, Walter Sobel. They are at a charity event, and Sobel wants to show all the attendees a video of how their charitable donations will be used. Black Widow sneaks upstairs and puts in its place a video of Sobel's grandfather, who started the tech company that Walter now owns. In that video is someone who was one of their competitors. And here's Black Widow assassinating that competitor. And guess who is really behind the assassination? Well, big surprise, it turns out to be Sobel's grandfather. As Natasha later says, that's how the grandfather built the company, by eliminating, quite literally, his competitors. Now, later, Tony Stark confronts her about the video she posted, pointing out that Walter Sobel was not involved in what his grandfather did. And she responds, "Fruit from the poison tree." And here is the key line for the plot. Only the first one to be plucked. So, again, it seems like she is out for revenge on people involved in her past and not the other way around. And that's fine. That works as a plot. But the opening page of this comic should make that clear so that, there's no real confusion. That said, that's the only problem. There is a story here, there is action, and the last thing. At the end, Tony Stark is contacting Captain America, and he's clearly worried that something has gone wrong with the Black Widow clone, and that makes for a nice cliffhanger. I want to read the next issue. I also have to say that this is much better than Black Widow #1, a comic which I reviewed a while back. I'll put a link to that review in the description below. And it is better for a lot of reasons, and here's one more. In the web of Black Widow, Natasha has the non-approved body type. Now, what is approved body type? Well, it is the body type that social justice warriors deem acceptable, which for women is flat-chested, few, if any, curves, and the legs aren't very shapely, and so on. That's what was in Black Widow #1, as you can see right here. In Web of Black Widow, you get non-approved body type on the cover. It's all there. Very nice. And she is the same way inside the cover. Now, I don't want to repeat myself here about body type. I talked a lot about that in my review of Black Widow #1, so let me grab some quick clips from that review. Now, talking about body type here, let me first say what I'm not saying, and that is that there is no one sort of standard that everyone has to live up to, or they're not sexy. Obviously, there is no one type of body that everyone finds attractive. Everyone is different. Everyone has different standards. There are all different types of bodies that people are attracted to. That said, there are certain body types that are more likely to be seen as sexy by large groups of people. Right? That's why Hollywood tends to put people who have certain body types in movies versus other types. It's more likely to appeal to a broader audience, and hence, you get more ticket sales. This is a lesson that the comic book industry clearly needs to relearn. The body type that men want to see is the women who have big breasts, curvy hips, long legs, and so forth. For women, Hollywood is more likely to put this guy in a movie than this guy. And you might think of sexiness as being on a continuum. This guy is at one extreme and this guy is at the other. And where is Doc Hogg on this continuum? Yeah, that's right. Okay, let's move on to other body types. And you can do the same thing here. If we compare Web of Black Widow to Black Widow, this is hot, this not so much. Okay? So, let me finish by saying that I don't know how this got by the SJW censors at Marvel. Someone made a mistake, and please, please keep on making them. Okay, now back to the indie comic Russell and why I'm backing it. Russell is written by Brian Starkey and has a very modest goal of $3,000. It does have a very long way to go, but fortunately has about 50 days left on its campaign. Alrighty, here's the plot. An alcoholic gunfighter cat named Russell is given the ability to time travel. His mission, stop the assassination of a president. The plot is pretty simple, which is always good, and Starkey said that there was a twist in the story, but he was kind of coy, in fact he was very coy about what it was. Now Starkey based this comic on a short story that he wrote, and he shared part of that story with me, and let me share just one bit of it with you. Quote, "What the hell happened last night? Who are you?" Russell said to the Russian blue hooker feline laying next to him. "I don't remember shit about you, although I wish I did. You're not bad looking." As the Russian blue rolls over, she throws a crooked smile, minus a few teeth, at her bedmate. "I knew you could drink, but damn, you almost emptied the bar last night," she said. "You better be careful about going back to the bar because your tab is going to fuck you more than I did last night." Russell responded, "Hell, the bartender is my friend. I'll pay him back when he needs my protection." The last thing I'll say about this comic is that the art is growing on me. It's not my favorite kind of comic book art, but, you've got to expand your horizons, and frankly, I really want to see a story about a gun-toting, hard-drinking, hooker-loving cat using this kind of art. So, again, about 50 days left on the campaign, and I really think you should back it. As always, the link to the Indiegogo page is in the description below. Okay, that music means that it is time for Hogg's Headlines, all the news that Doc Hogg wants to report on. Dateline, Adults versus Kids. Does Hollywood know the difference? This is Jacob Tobia. This is She-Ra and the Princess of Power. Tobia will be doing one of the voices for She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. He will be voicing the character Double Trouble, whose sexual identity is non-binary. Now, since She-Ra is a cartoon for kids that appears on Netflix, you may be asking yourself, is that appropriate for children? And the fact that you asked such a question demonstrates that you are a homophobe, a transphobe, and you are ultimately a bigot. Clearly, you are not as tolerant and hence not as virtuous as Mr. Tobia and the producers of this show.
Hi, I'm Jacob Tobia, and I am so excited to announce that I'll be joining the cast of She-Ra and the Princesses of Power for Season 4. I play a character called Double Trouble, who is a non-binary, shape-shifting mercenary, so functionally I'm playing myself.
Ta-da! Thank you.
Having non-binary representation in animated shows for young folks is just so vital because young people today are already understanding that gender is diverse and a broad spectrum from a super early age, right?
Now, I'm sure you don't want to be called a bigot by raising objections here, so let me do it for you. First off, when I saw this, I immediately sent it to my ex-wife, my son's mom, and I said our son will not be watching this cartoon, and she agreed. As for Tobias saying that people today are already understanding that gender is diverse and a broad spectrum from a super early age, well, I don't doubt that he believes that, as do tons of people in Hollywood. However, that is projection on their part. All right. Kids at a super early age barely even understand what gender is. Until recently, when you asked my son if mommy was a boy or a girl, he often said boy. It often takes a while for young kids to work out the differences between males and females, and few, if any, have a clue what a broad spectrum is. And there is a good reason for that. They're children! Okay? They are not ready to understand things like sexuality, gender identity, and the rest. That's for when they're older, for when they start reaching adolescence. And that makes putting a non-binary character in a children's cartoon wrong. Just like it would be wrong if, say, a school gave kids alcohol, or handed them a bong, or if, say, parents gave their young child the keys to a car and said, get behind the steering wheel. Okay, it's not rocket surgery. So why is the trans movement trying to push adult stuff onto young kids? Because they are employing the get 'em while they are young strategy. The trans movement knows that what they are pushing is highly controversial and arguably dubious, and by that I mean that, is this really just a matter of identity, or is it indicative of some very serious mental health problems? They know that many adults will raise objections to this. But kids, hey, they often don't know any better. If you can indoctrinate them, then you'll have a whole generation growing up believing that gender is some very fluid concept, and that belief is not in any way controversial. So yes, get them while they're young. Alrighty, that's all for now. Until next time, have a very nice day. And this is sex. Wait, what's that doing over there? Oh, don't even.